Oh, all right. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Watchalong for Abdish-Ata versus Central Coast Mariners in the AFC Cup. This is all a bit experimental at this stage, so bear with us. I think everything's working fine. Um, yeah, we're here to watch the Mariners. Hello, I'm Lachlan Abel. I'm joined by Jacob Stevens and Will Booth. Hello, guys.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello.
So, yes, we thought we'd give this a go. We are live on Twitter. You have your nice little vertical frame. That's all we could do. Roy Family Adventures say hi. Good to have you in, Roy. Thanks for joining us. So we have, yes, our vertical frame on Twitter. That's what we could do. And then we have the horizontal. It's a little bit of a better layout on YouTube as well. So if you're watching on Twitter, go into the YouTube channel, find us at A Leagues of Our Own, and it'll probably be a bit of a better experience for you as well. Shall we have a chat about the teams?
That's why we're here, isn't it?
It is. Okay, you ready for this? Ready for this, guys? Well, production value right here. I don't know if you're watching or not. Scene transition. Whoa! Whoa! And then I'll click one more button. Where is it? And there's the starting 11 right on the field. It's Jacob. Do you want to take us through?
Yeah. So the Mariners, I don't think there's any real big surprises in there in terms of what we've seen from them, both in the AFC Cup and in the league this season. Obviously, Vukovic starting between the sticks, been pretty reliable for them. A back four that pretty well established. It's going to be interesting to see how Docker and Rue play, who's on the left, who's on the right there, especially considering Docker's recent form. And Will, we had a bit of a chat about this before we went live as well. Who's going to be where. Do you have any thoughts on where they might line up?
Yeah, we saw Storm Ruru play on the left against West United, and then Docker was did get higher up the field on his right, and yeah, that's where he's had the form really on the right. So you'd hope he slots in there, and I'm just excited to see it really.
Yeah. I think a big part of the game plan for the Mariners tonight will be the link up between Edmondson and Torres. I'm a big fan of what I've seen from Ryan Edmondson. He's sort of your classic English number nine. He'll drop a little bit deeper and get involved in build up. And I think with the pace that Torres possesses, his ability to come inside and create chances and take chances as well is going to be really big for them. So if they can get involved and link up nicely, especially early on, and sort of puts the opposition on the back foot, I think that they could be really dangerous tonight. And obviously you've got then Josh Nisbet floating around in the 10 behind that as well. So it's it's a stacked side for the Mariners. I think there's a fair few people that are expecting a good result here tonight.
Two key outs, though, as well. Jacob Farrell and ALOO, of course, not just affecting the A-League form, but those two off at the Under-23 Asian Cup at the moment. Qual, you could say, is probably interchangeable at this point, Will, with the two other strikers they have with Ryan Edmondson and Jing Reese as well. But Jacob Farrell, definitely an outs, but, I mean, with Rue and Docker in there, they're more than able to cover for him.
Yeah, exactly. The Farrell is probably harder to replace like for like with those options you mentioned. So Storm Ruru isn't as maybe comfortable as tucking in and sitting in that back three. He likes to get forward, and sometimes that will leave you vulnerable. So they do have to adjust slightly if he does play on the left to having Rue there. But yeah, the as you said up top, Qual is when he's in the team, it doesn't really change the system too much between him, Jing Reese, and Edmondson. They all offer similar profiles. Maybe a different build up, as you said, like with Edmondson, he does offer more of a physical presence, whereas Qual and Reese probably get in behind a little bit more and want to receive with their facing the goal. But yeah, not too much of a change when we've seen them come in and rotate in the team. As I think I've mentioned on the pod before as well, this Mariners attack has been rotating all season, so I think they all do look comfortable with each other. They shouldn't, they've all played with all of these different combinations. So yeah, missing just one of those attacking options shouldn't be too much of a miss. At the back, yeah, after Storm Rue and Docker and like without Farrell, it does become thin. Nathan Paul, I've seen at left back a couple of times, and it's just not as convincing. He's obviously a talent for the future, and does look promising. Maybe he's suited to more of a central role. So we don't want to have to rely on him on the left too much. But it should work how it is. It should work. They have the numbers for a starting 11 at least, and yeah, excited to see it come in.
All right. So one of the quirks of doing this will be that we are obviously watching our version of 10 play with a lack of a pause and rewind function. So we're not all watching the game at the same time. In addition, you guys watching will probably be 30 to 40 seconds ahead of us. So we're not trying to be commentators for the game or anything. You can see the goals go in. You can peer over and see our reaction to the goals going in at slightly staggered times. So we'll just see how we go. I do want to ask a question though for everyone watching. What do we prefer? Do we like this little kind of box view with the teams and then the scores at the bottom, or do we like this full kind of camera overlay with those boxes kind of a little bit opaque on the front? What do we like? Let me know, because I made two. Because I made this one first and I didn't really like it, so I made
Got to
another
come
one,
prepared, Lockie.
Got to come prepared. We have options. Or we could just go back to the starting stream if you want. No, let's not do that. But yes, let us know. And thank you for coming. Let us know where you're watching from. Do you hope the Mariners win? I think we all hope the Mariners win, right? I feel like in Australian football, maybe a Sydney team or a Melbourne team, you watch them going into Asia, you might hope they lose. But I think, Jacob, Australian football is usually pretty on the same page when it comes to international competition.
Yeah, because it's a case of you sort of put away the club biases for a little bit and it becomes just representing the country, on a big stage. And because I think it's been the case where Australia has struggled for a long time in getting clubs to perform well in Asian competitions. So, the few occasions that it has worked out well. I think Adelaide in 2008 had a good run. Obviously, the Wanderers winning the Champions League. Now the Mariners here with the AFC Cup. MacArthur had a decent run as well this year. It's one of those things where it shows that the quality of football here is steadily growing. It's not sort of stagnated. It's not fallen away. We're continuing to keep up. And, that's, I think, a really big credit to everybody involved in the game here, because it doesn't necessarily have the funding or the money that some of these Asian countries can put into it. And yet, these teams are still able to compete. So
Letty says no commentary. I was promised a radio style call. Paletti, you can't get a refund because you haven't paid anything for a service. But also, if we tried to deliver commentary, that would be absolutely disastrous. So I think we'll leave it to the pros. It's Danny McBreen and blanking on the name. Who's the other A-League off-air guy?
Robbie Thompson.
I think it's those two on tonight, so that'll be fun. Roy says, what are the odds of a Mariners win? Look, I think it is tricky in this competition. It's very hard to gauge the opponents before we see them. If you want to have a look at the bookies line, I believe the Mariners are $1.40 favourites. So there's that.
We all know how notoriously unreliable the bookies are, though.
Yes, and in the AFC Cup, I think, it could go either way. Travelling in Asia is the other big aspect as well. I believe Mariners will, you can correct me on this, but are a draw and a loss away from home in this competition so far as well?
I believe so, yeah.
So travelling is obviously difficult. I think they'd be perfectly fine with a draw. I think they'd still expect a win, Jacob, but even if they go even maybe just one down or a draw, I think they're more than happy with that coming back to Gosford.
Yeah, and it's not like some of their earlier ones where it was, a relatively short trip up to, Indonesia or something like that. This is over to Kyrgyzstan, so that's a pretty long flight for them. So I think to be able to just get out with even just the draw would be, I'm sure they'd be quite pleased with that. But like you said, they'll be going for the win. They'd be silly not to.
Yeah, full strength team as well. I think on the travel as well, I believe Chris was saying in our group chat the other day, it's not easy. It's not just a direct flight either. You have to go through Dubai. It ends up being over 24 hours, I think, of travel if you're going the economy way. So that is a lot of travel. And of course, they have to come back, Will, and play a very important game in the A-League on the weekend, chasing the premiership.
Yeah, the timings are becoming a bit silly right now, but it's like good form in one takes it to the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's what you sign up for, right?
It's exactly, and it's a blessing as well if you get a good result here and you take that confidence in for the rest of the A-League season. So, yeah, a strong result here. They attacked away in India in the first leg and gave themselves a big lead. I know that's probably better in terms of squad rotation. You can play a bit of a rotated squad when you in the second leg back in Gosford, but Yeah, it's not like the Mariners to sit back and play for a draw.
No, definitely not their style.
They'll go for it for sure. So it'll be an exciting game, I think.
Can I just say, we just saw the subs pop up there for both teams, and Abdish-Ata have a full second 11 just on the bench there with the number of players they've got. So
Not good.
All right. Well, we're moments away from kickoff now in Kyrgyzstan. Jacob, can you give us your scouting report on Kyrgyzstan football?
I did joke in the group chat that it would be a chance for me to sort of flex my knowledge. I've got no idea what it's going to be like. So I guess it's one of those cases where we just have to wait and see what happens. They're top of the league though over there, so it's not like it's similar with Odisha in the last round where it's not necessarily going to be a pushover. They're the best team in their country, so if that's anything to go by, then they could prove stern resistance.
While you bring up Indian football, I believe Jason Cummings and Dimi Petratos won the IPL, the Indian Premier League. Oh, sorry, it's not the IPL, is it?
No, the IPL's cricket.
That's cricket. The Indian Football League. I'm going to get the name wrong. But we have kickoff in Kyrgyzstan. The Mariners are underway. But yes, Aussies winning trophies abroad. Love to see it.
Yeah, I saw that cigar photo after with Petratos and Cummings. They were
Yeah.
straight into that.
And of course, Cassini Yangi scored the opening goal in Portsmouth. Portsmouth's win that took them to the League One Championship and promotion up to the Championship, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a big game player. He's always, loved, even when he was playing for Adelaide, loved playing those big games, those derby games against Victory. He always, sort of was a bit of a thorn in the side of the Victory. So it's not a surprise that big game, end of the season, chance to, secure it for your side, and he's on the score sheet. I'm not surprised by that. And he seems really comfortable over there in England now as well, which is great to see.
It does. And I saw that video of it as well, like standing on top of the car. He was leading the chants out in the street late at night. It's great.
It's awesome. It's what you want from football.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the fans were quick to accept him and they loved him straight away. So it's good to see that.
I mean, if you're a striker and you go and you start scoring goals, of course they're going to love you.
I mean, yes, absolutely. You only need to take like Bruno Fornaroli when he first came to Melbourne Victory. I think, I'm a Melbourne Victory fan, of course, and Victory fans had more than one reason to dislike Bruno when he came in. But as you say, you score enough goals, I think the tide turns pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, Jacob, we're going to be looking to you here in the first 10 minutes to
Of course.
identify the tactical shapes of the oppositions. I think it's the first time they're wearing this blue kit as well.
It is in straight in behind there, but it looks like Mariners, going from what we've seen so far with just the back two in possession, which isn't particularly surprising if they're going to want to try and sort of overpower Abdish-Ata early on in this game, get those extra bodies forward. We've seen them fluctuate between the two at the back and the three at the back throughout the season, sort of depending on the way that they want to play, whether it's a bit more patient or whether they're just going more to try and score goals. And it certainly seems like at the moment, with how they've played in this opening couple of minutes, that it's going to be a case of they're looking to get bodies forward. And we saw a nice run in behind from Edmondson just before, which quite funnily, goes against what we were saying at the start with how they might look to play with him. But perhaps that's a bit of an indication that they're going to be a little bit direct and try and avoid those midfield areas. And the pitch, I don't have a particularly great view of it, but the grass looks quite long, so it could be a case of just trying to stop the ball from getting held up in those central areas where it's it could be a possibility of a turnover, and just going direct and using the pace of Torres and Edmondson up front to get in behind.
Well, we saw the Victory and Wellington really struggle on the weekend when it was wet and the ball got caught underfoot a lot. They really struggled to adapt.
It's one of those things where, as a footballer, you're training on pitches that are nice and flat, and you get a consistent bounce, and then you go and you play on a pitch that maybe isn't the best quality, and it's nothing like you used to, and it can sort of mess with you a little bit, and it can take you a while to get into the swing of things. So if it's the case that the Mariners know sort of in advance, if they've had a look at the pitch and gone, right, we know what's going to work and what's not, and they can tailor the way that they're going to play to that, then that'll be a huge advantage. But I mean, it's not the same advantage that Abdish-Ata is going to have in having played there all season and knowing it, pretty intimately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think Edmondson is deceivingly like quick. He's shown that he does want to get behind a lot of the time, and even though he is that physical presence, it's he does have a really balanced profile. Like he does do it all. So I'm excited just to honestly see more of him. We haven't seen too much and consistent, 90 minutes or big stretches here. So no, I'm definitely keen to see how he fits in, and he's definitely one for the future. Like they signed him, full signed him. So it's he'll be here for a while.
Jacob, is the grass real or is it artificial?
That's a great question.
It could be a hybrid, yeah.
It could be a hybrid, yeah.
It does look a bit weird.
It's the color of it's a bit strange. That's the thing.
It still has the like lines, which
but it looks real
with it.
It looks real patchy, like towards the camera side. So that's why I'm thinking it's real. But
yeah, that's a good point. I can't tell.
Maybe that's just a criticism of the broadcast quality there more than anything.
We wouldn't dare.
Yeah.
So on the topic of Asian football, obviously one of my dreams was crushed on the weekend. Now the Mariners locked up their 2 spot. Congratulations to them. But it does mean that we're only getting one team in the Champions League Elite next year, which with my Aussie football and Asia agenda, it's not good for. So for those who are unaware, winning the AFC Cup gives the winner a qualification spot into the Asian Champions League Elite next year. And of course, the highest ranked A-League team in the regular season gets a spot directly into the Asian Champions League Elite. Just one this year. But because Wellington are ineligible, because they're an Oceanic team playing in Asia, they don't get a spot, so it will go to second. So Mariners got that through the A-League. And then obviously the assumption is, and this is what happens in Europe, is that spots for winning trophies in Asia or Europe the year before then go to the next spot down. That doesn't happen. So Melbourne Victory, I think they're currently in third, right? The Victory in third. Or maybe it's Sydney FC, I'm not sure. Or yeah, anyway.
The Victory fan doesn't know where they are on the ladder.
Oh, it doesn't matter, does it? But it doesn't filter down. So the Mariners are through, and if they win the AFC Cup spot, I believe there's a team in Korea that fits the ranking, and they'll just get a bye to the next round of qualification. So that's unfortunate. We're only going to have the one team in the Champions League Elite, and then Sydney FC will be in Asian Champions League 2 by virtue of winning the cup. So
I can just say after a quick Google here as well, I can confirm it is natural grass that they're playing on, according to Wikipedia. So,
according to Wikipedia, does it have a footnote?
It just says surface grass. Yeah.
Looks like they painted it's green paint. They touched it up.
Oh, we have a fourth. Hello, Ross.
Hello, I have joined.
Oh, let's turn you down.
And this.
Whoop.
There we go.
Here we go. Let's get that back right. Hello, Ross. How are you doing?
I'm doing alright, guys. How's everyone going?
Good. I would just say, guys, after my comments saying that the Mariners are playing with the back 2, that it looks like they've transitioned back 3. You've got Steele, Kaltak, and Hall sort of holding station. And you've got Root and Docker playing both on the right, Docker the more advanced role. So completely going against everything that I said earlier on.
We've seen them adapt the game before, though.
Well, yeah, that's what we'll say.
How was training tonight, Ross?
Training was alright. I got asked interesting questions and I was mic'd up for training, so tune into the 1-0 FC
socials.
Instagram, guys. And if you want to hear some really bad language, but
Not for this show.
No.
We're family friendly.
We are,
A-Leagues
yes.
of our own. Very much unlike the A-Leagues off-air podcast, which you're getting an exclusive bonus to on the 10-play broadcast right now.
Yeah, training good. We've got a game Saturday. Everyone come down.
Sure.
We've got a sort of like look out. So. 1
Give me
o'clock,
just
guys.
1 second, guys.
1 o'clock. I think I'm behind everyone. What minute is everyone on?
The 9th.
9:15 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm 9:14.
Yeah, you're good.
I'll tell you what, Abdish-Ata have some players that are pretty solid on the ball. As number 34 is just skipping around challenges like it's nothing at the moment.
Hello, Cirksan. How are you going, mate? Good to have you in. And hello to everyone else who has joined since we've started the match. Good to have you in. I think we've got about 50 odd watching the game with us right now.
Not bad.
Interesting.
Someone on Reddit has asked me whether this live stream will reach peak Mark Goldbridge.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to quite get that far.
What? Why not?
I think we're all very regional people, aren't we? Unlike Mark Goldbridge.
Mike Bullbridge is funny.
He also very much knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
If
He is
Mariners
very
start losing,
intelligent, yeah.
I could put on a Goldbridge character for sure. I can take that. Yeah, so get Mark Jackson out. It's ridiculous. Can't. What's he done this season? Nothing to show.
I can try chuck on a Mancunian accent.
Please don't.
Let's stay clear of that one. What do we think of the 10 p.m. kickoff? It's not quite the usual Australian experience of getting up at 3 a.m. for continental games, but it's close.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I
It's
don't know whether
weird.
I guess we'll find out in the morning whether or not my body agrees with it. So
No, I'm all
Very
used to it.
true.
I like it. It's just hard after a 5 a.m. start this morning to watch this morning's game. But
yeah,
the nap in the middle of the day certainly helped.
But it is at 6 p.m. there right now. So in Kyrgyzstan.
hmm
Oh, you're
That's
saying
not-
that like we should know.
Yeah.
I don't-
I'm just agreeing with what he said
Yeah,
because
is it? I guess so.
I'm not going to bother fact checking him because that's such an obscure
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
to say.
You sound like you know. You're like, yeah, sure.
GMT +6.
Plus 6. I
times
think,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
that makes
Oh.
sense. So four,
Yeah, you should have known that,
I
guys.
should have known that. That's my bad.
Oh,
Docker lining up for a
He sure
long-range
is.
free kick. Roberto Carlos style. That's almost in the perfect position.
Hand ups across always. Come on.
Is it just me or have there been fewer?
Oh, who's on the far post? Is that Caltac?
Yeah, I think so.
Doesn't really score many goals with his feet, does he?
Yes, that's not the position you'd expect to find him in there.
Another play.
Well,
the
James
position we want him
Donachie
in.
scored a goal the other day.
He did.
That was a good hit as well.
It was.
mate, Damien De Silva scored a double 4 weeks ago. So
He scored.
Yeah,
two.
did get
did you
out.
see the Donachie goal though, Ross? Like, I saw
didn't.
people trying to call it like a training park move. It's like, I'm not sure
Oh.
if the organised training park routine would be a half volley for your centre half.
Well, I mean, if he's got it in his locker, maybe they'll start, tailoring some things to
Yeah,
that now.
maybe he's putting his hand up. I don't know.
mate, they might know something we don't. So it's who knows what he whips out in training.
Torres sitting so narrow there. It's. Oh, they're going back.
I cannot for the life of me find this on my Paramount.
It's not on Paramount.
It's not on Paramount.
Oh, okay, that's probably why then. Hey,
Good old 10 play.
Yeah.
10 play, I'm behind. Where's my
Get around it.
Just turned it off.
Shall we do some score predictions?
I'm thinking a gritty 1-0 win for the Mariners, just from what I've seen so far.
If you're watching as well, let us know what you think. Get your score predictions in. I think the Mariners will win. I think the quality is just going to be too good, but it won't be by much.
Yeah, it's looking like a narrow score line. This is how that was a nice turn. This is how Mariners games go. I've seen it so often this season where I could kind of tell when an attack starts, like when they win the ball back and they burst onto that attack, you can tell a goal's coming. Like they
Yeah.
only need a couple of those moments every game. They don't want possession. Their possession stats are quite low per game. They don't just want the ball for no reason. It's when they get that ball and the intent they have, they only need a few chances. So low score either way. I'd say 1-0 either way. I'm gonna say.
I think they will concede.
Interesting.
Traveling in Asia and not conceding is a miraculous thing. So I'm going to say 2-1.
Yeah.
2-1 Mariners.
I'm just thinking they won't concede.
I'm going 3-1 Mariners.
Just from what I've seen from Abdish-Ata here is this really struggling just to get the ball out of the back line, and it's because they're sitting with 4 at the back almost continually. And as the ball goes to the fullbacks, I wrote an article about the Mariners and their trigger press, and that's when they really like to do it. And the wingers push up when the fullbacks receive the ball, and we've been seeing that so far. And they're struggling to transition the ball into those central areas. And we're seeing it here again. I think that it's a case of they might just be sort of almost strangled out of the game just in build up. When they do get the ball in, sort of into the central third, you've got players who are good on the ball, but they're just not doing it consistently enough for me to think that they'll pose a threat unless the game really opens up.
Yeah, they're not overloading any area. Like don't have a numbers advantage in anywhere on the pitch. Basically, they're getting man pressed. They're progressing the ball. If they do progress it, they're just getting matched by players. It's not. Yeah, there's no pockets where they're overloading or anything. So it's easy to deal with so far.
Behave, Paletti. All right, are we ready for my first clean transition of the night as Danny Vukovic picks up that long ball?
Let's see it.
So everyone looking down, you see the title card in the bottom left. We've got the calendar and the title and everything. Well, I thought we're not going to be able to talk about this game the whole time, so I'd come prepared. Press this button here. We've got a few questions to ask. Whoa! So the news today is that enough money has been raised for Canberra United to be in the A-League Women's next year, which is a great result. It means their immediate future is secure. But now we have to ask a bigger question, and the likely outcome now is that a men's team won't be in the A-League men's in Canberra is what I'm talking about for that expansion next year. So we're probably going to have an odd 13 teams, maybe even buys. At least that's what's coming out today. So the question I put to you guys is, was 1 year always too quick for A-League expansion? I pointed out on Twitter today the US examples. They usually give their teams 4 to 5 years to usually build a stadium, which is probably a bit far-fetched for what we're talking about. But build a team, build some kind of fan base and culture before you enter the league. And Canberra, sure, Auckland look like they're doing okay, but Canberra are definitely coming too late in the piece.
Yeah, I think it's a case of with Canberra, it just couldn't get off the ground for too long. And I think if they were to rush ahead and try and get a men's team together for next season, it would be like an absolute shambles to be perfectly honest. Auckland, like you said, Lockie, they sort of look like they've got things together, but they've also had the time to do it because they've been almost sort of a lock for that since it was announced that there would be expansion. It was always going to be the case of we're probably going to do Auckland and Canberra, and then Canberra just couldn't get anything together, and it's been delayed. I'm glad that there were obviously reports recently about what's going to happen with the women's team. Are they just going to fold? Like, it's good to see that they've got, they're going to be sticking around now. Such a storied team in the dub, and it gives, like you said, a bit of time to build a men's team there and not necessarily destroy the culture that they've built in Canberra in terms of the footballing community there, because it's really strong. And the Dub team has the identity, it's got the branding and stuff that people can identify with, and I think it would be silly of them to rush something in such a short amount of time. And as I say, that Abdish-Ata launching a couple of decent
Yeah,
chances
just breaking
there on
down
goal.
the wing and then a chance from the top of the box there. That's their first real attack of the game.
I think that's the issue with playing with a sort of a back three, is that your left fullback, your left fullback is going to sit quite narrow.
Yeah, it's the wing play, isn't it?
Yeah, you're going to be overloaded there. It's a case of how quickly can Stormru or Mikael Docker get back and sort of be able to space out into a back four, or even just those rotations from defensive midfield. Who have they got in there? I think Ballard and Tap today. So it's going to be a case of probably a bit of a rest defense from the other players with that back three, trying not to get stretched too far laterally.
Ross, I think this is probably one for you, mate. Chris says, any one of you boys can tell me how Abdish-Ata beer tastes like, and how does it compare to Red Bull energy drinks?
Why was that question pointed on me?
I just did a random spin in my mind, mate, and you came
I
out.
was kind of, to be honest,
You're
was actually
well-travelled.
looking at the stadium, and I love the stadium. It looks quite nice, which means that it doesn't answer your question.
Boutique,
mate,
you could
I'm
say.
sorry, but it's like 20. I looked it up, 22,000 seats.
That's not.
What more do you need? Like, it's quite intimate.
Yeah, I think that question came because they're named after a brewery. And,
Yeah.
Are they?
and Red
Okay.
Bull- yeah, and then
Okay,
the Red
well,
Bull
thank
was
you, Will.
other football.
Maybe I should have asked someone
other
else.
football franchises. So yeah, he's looking for a comparison there. I think it just shows that the Mariners are still the underdogs, and it's sad to see all these like massive corporations just owning clubs.
They're the underdog story.
The narrative.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll
I
have to
like
get
it.
have to get some beers for next time. We'll have to get some beers for the second leg, I reckon.
Will's waiting for his.
Do you reckon we can get some Kyrgyzstani beers in 1 week, imported in 1 week?
Look, I'll try if you pay the right people the right money.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I was going to say, surely like the border police or something are going to have some questions about a package arriving from Kyrgyzstan. Like,
Well, Will, you're going to be nominated to source that, okay, for next week.
Okay.
Not only have to get it in the country, but then distribute it to all of us as well.
Yeah.
Okay, true. That's
Well, the
Yeah,
good thing
that's
about
another
that, guys, is if you keep tuning in, follow us on Twitter, on all the socials, we'll have enough money to fund the brewery.
We can
keep
get
posted
sponsored
for the
by
future.
a big conglomerate, and then we can be the bad guys in the podcasting
Exactly.
world.
yeah, I like that.
I know, heaps of podcasts and heaps of these are sponsored by that. They won the
Leagues of
second
our
one
own, sponsored by
beer.
Cooper's Brewery. What more do you need? Eh?
Oh, I love that. Love that idea. I've got some cookies sitting in the fridge right now. Well, jumping back to Canberra, Paletti said in the chat, yes, it was always going to
Paletti in the
be
call,
too quick for expansion, especially without an owner lined up. Foley essentially fell into the laps of the APL. It does seem like he was quite keen to get involved. And to be honest, where my worry continues is when these announcements were made, and again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but this was Danny Townsend's era when this announcement came through, that they also wanted another 2 teams for 25-26. That seems even more optimistic.
Yeah. It's a case of where do these teams go, like where's the market going to just appear from overnight? And I think that's been the problem with A-League expansion from the get-go, is how do you differentiate the teams that are coming into the league from the ones that are already there? And you've seen Wanderers have done a good job with it. City, you could argue, kind of have in some capacity. Western and Campbelltown have really, not Campbelltown, MacArthur have really struggled with that aspect of it. So, it's a case of identifying where the markets are. And to be honest, I just don't really see where there are any.
I agree with Jacob there, because I don't know where they go. I don't know, like, in terms of expansion for the dynamics and the demographic, I don't see an untapped market.
The most commonly said ones are Wollongong and Tasmania, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like it's
We know
if you're not-
we know Tasmania are pushing for one.
Yeah.
But then they've had that whole infighting as well between
Yeah.
pushing a national second tier team and then waiting for the A-League bid, and it's not nobody's on one page there. But
Just to
it's
clarify
also,
on the infighting, I think this was a little bigger than it really was. Look,
Yeah,
obviously you have Football Tasmania coming out and saying that they wouldn't support the bid for the NST. I think their specific issue with that bid was that it kind of transformed from a South Hobart bid to a Team Tasmania bid, and they didn't want the Tasmania team to be the NST team.
Yeah.
Again,
No, it made
speculation
sense.
for me, but I think they'd be happy with the South Hobart as long as they could still push for Tassie or Hobart or whatever.
Yeah,
in
it was
the
just
A-League
like
as well.
strong language and stuff made it seem like they were opposing each other, but it was more just they hadn't both. It seemed like they both hadn't,
But it's a
spoken
little
about
reminiscent
before.
to me for how things were handled here in SA with the NST, or at least from what I've heard from speaking to people involved. To chat with the chairman of Playford, who were one of the clubs who put in an expression of interest, and he was saying that obviously South Australia had 3 bids out: Adelaide City, Playford, and then sort of this merger bid between 3 clubs under the Football South Australia banner. And it was just a case of sort of crossed wires. Nobody, had proper communication with each other to figure out what the best approach for South Australian football was going to be. And you had these 3 groups that all had different ideas on what that was going to look like, and it's ended up with none of them getting up. So, it's
Yeah, I think that's a fairly familiar story at the moment.
yeah.
The lady
Yeah, as I
says,
was
bring
saying-
back the North Queensland Fury.
To be fair,
Gold Coast United.
they've got a nice stadium up there in Townsville now.
North Queensland has been much talked about as one of these spots.
I think their population has been expanding it again to support a team there. I think there's no reason why it wouldn't work.
Well, and I remember them having a decently passionate fan base there as well. They didn't struggle for crowds like Gold Coast did or anything like that. It was just a case of, for whatever reason, it just wasn't seen as viable. And
I think when Robbie Fowler's in your team, it's good for fan bases.
that's
I
true.
think every single Liverpool fan under the sun probably supported.
I
North
do
Queensland Fury.
remember going to the Melbourne Victory game the first time he played in Melbourne. Or maybe it wasn't Melbourne, but definitely against Victory. And
Yeah.
the amount of red shirts in that crowd was
Yeah.
insane.
Well, it's like Del Piero was,
Yeah.
the Adelaide
And David
fans.
Villa for 3 games.
The Adelaide fans had a tifo for him, when he came to. So it's
Was anyone at the Liverpool Melbourne Victory game at the MCG in 2013 or something?
No.
Russ, you're the other Victorian.
I was at the Man United one
Right, okay.
against Victory, but yeah.
Yeah, being in that stadium, listening to You'll Never Walk Alone was so cool. And I think that's those kind of moments give you optimism for these kind of all-star games, because you have both sides of it. You have the A-League All-Stars, people who follow the league will get around them, and then obviously the European fans that will get behind the travelling teams. I think it'll be really cool. Really looking forward to Newcastle and Tottenham as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shame. It's a shame it's three days after the season, 24-hour travel for them.
Yeah.
I don't think we've heard the end of that, by
Newcastle
the way,
United.
as well.
Sorry.
I don't think we've heard the end of that. I think the PFA in England still
they're
have
making sure.
something they want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's very, Newcastle can name an 11 of injured players that would go well in the league. I reckon. I don't know who they're going to name for those games.
Does it matter? Because Greg Cole might get a run in.
That's it.
That's the main thing, eh?
No,
Does his loan
I'll-
technically expire by that point, though?
maybe
Doesn't
2
play
days
for
before.
Volendam anyway, so not stressed.
They just recall him just to play against the All Stars.
Come home.
Honestly, he's
Off
doing more than
season.
he's doing in the Netherlands at the moment.
Yeah. But it's an
Get him
interesting
in,
case
get him
because
all
I think, like we mentioned on a podcast a while back, Lockie, with Tottenham, at least, their season is as far from done as possible. Obviously Newcastle as well, but Tottenham, are in a shout for top 4.
Yeah.
They have,
Them and Villa.
they have games against each of the top. They have games against each of the top 3 still, don't they? So
Yeah.
they've got a busy schedule, a lot on their plate, and some big games. So that
And a big
that
game
quick
against, yeah.
that quick turnaround is going to be difficult for them, I'm sure.
Tottenham are the Newcastle Jets of the Premier League. They've got the important fixtures left.
Yeah, Newcastle have a big role to play. Do they have Mariners and Phoenix in the last 2 rounds?
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And in good form as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 in a row, right?
It could be an F3 derby to decide the title. That would be
Well, the brilliant thing is, I didn't actually realise this, but I had a look at the schedule the other day. Those games on the final round of the season, Wellington and Central Coast, are actually both playing at the same time. So none of the other games are
That's
concurrent.
very good.
love
But
that.
yeah, it's weird. It worked out like the 2 actual ones that should be at the same time. The whole round should be, right? Like, but it's
Yeah.
lucky that it worked out. So
I mean,
that
we
they are
talked with
concurrent.
Paletti about this on the Dub one episode about why we can't do that, but I'm assuming the fixtures weren't released until a couple of months ago, right? And so they kind of saw the table and went, these two we might want to
Yeah.
put together.
Yeah. I know. It's just so like that goal rush on the last day of the Premier League always just hits. It just you need. I think everyone has expected it and becomes used to it.
Oh,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a very
That's
late
a
challenge
bad
there on
challenge.
tap.
Tap goes down.
I think he'll yeah, he's lucky enough that he's not
Yeah.
gone studs up because that's that was very late.
Do you reckon they have a beer as a mascot? Like a can of beer, like a big.
What, like the sauce bottles
Yeah.
at the Mariners?
I
Yeah.
reckon get those two in a ring, let them go at it. Halftime entertainment.
I love it. That's great.
They'll be friends. They go together too well. I think that
Beer
sausage
and
roll pops
sauce?
up somewhere and stuff. Like no, it's all all condiments, all in the same family.
Mariners haven't really been able to get anything clear going, have they?
Not since the first about 10 minutes. They've sort of struggled to win possession back. I think Abdish-Ata just playing a lot more quick, decisive passes, not trying to think too much about what they're doing. And they're progressing the ball from the back a lot quicker as well, which I think is the main thing. As I mentioned earlier, they were just inviting the Mariners press for a while. They've sort of realised they can't do that if they want to win. So playing a little bit quicker and trying to expose those gaps in the midfield when you've got the likes of Nisbet getting high up. Ballard likes to play a slightly more advanced role. And, there's a lot of space in those areas for them to exploit, which they're looking to do a lot more now. And they've got really good wing play from what we've seen so far. We've just seen another solid cross there. A chance where the striker couldn't quite get his head onto it. So I think that could be an issue for the Mariners heading forwards in this game, is how they keep their fullbacks, defensive without, limiting the attacking options that are there.
Edmondson looked to be in behind there, but flagged offside. That was really close.
That was very close. You can see Mariners sitting off a little bit more now as well, just trying to keep their shape a bit more compact, I think, just to
more
not
cautious.
concede that space. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Will, I was going to bring this up at some point. I think now's a good time. The T word, the treble. It's been whispered in hushed tones for a few weeks now on the Central Coast. And look, the Premiership, the Championship, the AFC Cup, it would be a remarkable achievement if they managed to get... Look, the AFC Cup +1 would still probably go down as one of the all-time seasons. If they got all three, and I've talked about this before, but add that on to last year winning the Championship and all the turnover they had with the coach and a number of key players, I think that 2-year span goes down as the best all-time for the A-League. It would just be such a tremendous achievement for them.
Yeah, we've seen, obviously like you look at Royal Salona and things like that, but they don't have the silverware like in Asia. They weren't performing at the same time. They weren't, doing it with half their team, leaving new coach in the season. It was under Andrew. It was a consistent plan. It wasn't ripped apart after one good season. So yeah, I think that makes this run a bit more impressive for sure. After that start, the 4 games, it didn't look good, but the only thing that the Mariners can do and Rich Quill could do was wait and hope it did come through, and yeah, he's been rewarded for sure for that. It's I want to avoid talking about it, obviously. Until I see them, the final whistle's gone in all of the final and the rest of this season. It pains me to think about. Just the hope that kills you, you know. But yeah, no, it's magnificent. It would be an awesome achievement. I think two is minimum from here. You should be. You've got two feasibly that are in your own control.
Yeah.
The league, it's just two more games, two more wins, and they've got it. So that has to be kind of like, obviously it's the one that comes first, but that has to be the realistic one that they follow through with. And yeah, then obviously going one better in the league than last year is impressive as well. It means so much to the coast. I was there for the semi final against Adelaide last season, and yeah, it packed out stadium on the Central Coast. It's just an unbelievable atmosphere, and it does bring crowds. Like, it, as much as it is a not a great thing that you want to be so hit and miss with the crowds based on how the team's going. It is such a massive team that and the crowd, sorry, that lifts when we're doing well. So yeah, it would be good to see definitely some more silverware. You'd hope they get one of them.
Yeah.
The crowds come. You want to be averaging above 10K again, like it's possible. We've seen them hit 10K a lot recently, which is awesome. So yeah, now the coast loves it. They deserve it. Be great to see, and yeah, just hopefully win.
With the crowds, though, I know we talk about them a lot in Australia, and you know, whenever there's a big derby, you get 15, 20,000 people in the doors, and then there's always people saying, you know, where are these guys? Where are these, you know, people, men and women and families? Like, why are they not coming to the other games? And at some point, it's like, well, the big games are, of course, they're going to draw more crowds. They're a bigger, you know, selling point. So I think we just take what we get. And you're right, the crowds come with winning and losing as well. That's just a part of it. And you know, the better quality football, the more young stars we have, like Nesta running around, the more the crowds are going to get out. And we saw that yesterday at Tarnier. You know, the Western United were using Nesta on their own socials trying to promote the game. So we get more players like that. That's the answer. It's not.
I do think next year though we could see, you know, a bit of an increase in crowds, especially given sort of the situation of a couple of clubs. Brisbane have been sort of all over the place this season, but they've got a really passionate fan base there, and we've seen at least the active support grow this season massively, and it's really strong there. Perth obviously have the new owners and the support and the backing there, and the fans have turned up in numbers despite a poor season. Adelaide continue to get good numbers despite a poor season. It could be a case of next year where you're seeing a lot of teams starting to break into that 10K.
Chance in the box here,
sort of
Edmondson.
Consistently.
Oh, straight at the keeper.
Lockie's about, I think, 3 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah,
We're all a little bit off. It's part of the work, but we'll work through it.
Spoiler alert.
A little bit of a tame finish there from Emerson.
Yeah, should have done better.
Those are the sort of chances that you're going to want to take. Like, especially with, it's been a pretty cagey affair so far, and neither team has really been able to generate much of anything.
Cut on the inside, even.
It's a big one.
On the crowds, it's interesting. I was listening to an interview with Max Rushton. Some of you that follow European football will know who he is. He does the coverage for Stan Sport for the Champions League in Australia as well. But he was on SEN, I think it was, and they were talking about, you know, do you follow the A-League or do you stay at home? And they got onto the topic of, you know, building the league and everything like that. And his answer was, you know, the easiest thing to do for the league was just, you know, wait 100 years and let the history grow. And obviously we're a little more patient than that. But I really do think that everyone's looking for a kind of miracle solution that will bring all the crowns back. I think you just got to do things one step at a time. And you get out of your own way. And we've seen the APL cause a lot of problems for themselves. And if we just stop those kind of decisions that significantly detract from the league, well, then natural growth is going to happen over time. We know the participation numbers. We know the interest of football more generally with the Matildas and with European football. So the league will grow. I just think it's going to happen.
It's the fact we have such a like tall poppy and such a weird view of it here. Like, people come over. I know so many people who've come over and watched A-League games, and they love the atmosphere. They say that's way better than we undersell it massively. Like, compared to how we've sold it to them, they come over and they're like, that's fantastic. It was great. There's teams always active singing. Like, it's you've made it sound like it's 2K max at a game and there's no atmosphere. We are very like self-detrimental, and we shouldn't be like the Mariners, as you were saying, Lockie, earlier. It's not about what I was saying was having the ability to hit 10K. There was so many years in a row there where we were back to back wooden spoons, where that wasn't even in the conversation. So it's more of a peak thing. The fact that 10K or something, that's an awesome to have that peak for those big games. But it's if you're increasing that core fan base who do turn up every week by, increasing it by 1,000 is 15-20%. It makes a massive difference. You don't need that many on the coast to make it a rocky atmosphere. You get 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people. It's awesome. So, and if another good strong season and a strong finish here, we'll get those numbers consistently higher. And that's all it is. You don't need 10K every week. You want to be able to have a good peak, massive showing in the derbies. But yeah, every week it's not about getting that.
I think I went to the Melbourne Derby last weekend, and it was there were these two Costa Rican fans in front of me and my brother, and they've been in Australia. They had been in Australia for I think 2 weeks at this point, and they said we wanted to come to this league. We wanted to see Melbourne victory because of Carlos Hernandez.
Love that.
What an absolute goat of the league.
And I'm like, that's unreal. And then I was like in a photo of them. They were telling us all these stories about Costa Rican football and like and obviously they were there with the Seven Nation Army with the violin there, and like this is awesome. It was a perfect game for them to come to.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, but
Now,
yeah,
Will,
that
not to
was
make
nice.
you even more nervous, but Roy has made a very good point in the chat, and he says it could be a club quintet. You got the club championship, which they've already won for the men's and the women's, then the 3 men's trophies, and the women as well, who got through on a penalty shootout at the weekend. Crazy heroics from Casey Dumont, but he makes a good point. There are 5 trophies up for grabs. Well, I don't know if they make a trophy for the club championship, but definitely 4.
They should. I want to claim that one. Because that's tangible. That's done. Put our hands on that, please. Yeah, no, it's honestly such a good result seeing the Dub team go this far, and yeah, I think surprised everyone with that result against Victory. So no, it would be awesome to see 2 Mariners in a grand final. That's just unfathomable, really. Like at the start of this season, I just didn't even think it was a possibility. I thought there would be heaps of time to adjust, and no, it's awesome. So more nerves, more fingernails to bite off, I think.
Can I
I think
introduce... Sorry, go on.
I think it speaks to the sort of culture that they've built at the club there, though, as well, that you can have your men's and women's teams doing so well, in the same season. And with the men's team, it's, back-to-back really strong seasons. I think it's, the Mariners have sort of set the example for a lot of the other teams in the league to follow. Of course, your Melbourne and your Sydney clubs are going to be a different case, but it's this sort of idea of being connected to your community, but also having sort of a business plan and a football mindset where it's about, yes, embracing your underdog side, but playing to win, doing well, and signing players who are going to help you do that. And I think that's what the Mariners have ticked all the boxes there, and are smashing it out of the park at the moment.
Yeah, the footballing decisions they can't really fault them the last couple of years and this season in the Dub. They're doing it probably their best by far out of any team, really. They're not to always put a Premier League lens on it, but it's like, it's that Brighton story, all that. Like they're just you can't really fault how they do it. They sell and buy well, recycle all the money, make the right managerial appointments. Like it's
Another good chance there from Abdish.
It's a very good chance. Harrison Steele is he's struggling out there at the moment to contain his opposite half. He's not been able to. He's been bodied off the ball a lot. He's not been able to really make those challenges when it's needed, and it's just giving him the chance to play down that wing. And they've really been targeting his side of the pitch as well. So Mark Jackson's got an interesting decision to make here in terms of does he keep Steele on the pitch? If he does, does he make a change to the formation and structure to try and give him a little bit of help defensively? Because right now he's getting isolated a lot and the wingers are just sort of picking him off.
I'm going to introduce a very soft 6th trophy option for the Mariners. They do play for the concrete pylon on the final day of the season. I don't want to dampen your spirits at all, but we were talking about this scenario early in the week. Could you imagine if on the final day of the season, the Central Coast Mariners. So this would require a draw and a loss this weekend, but then the Mariners go on to win in the final round, win the F3 Derby, but lose the league, and they ask them to raise the concrete pylon.
I think I
You guys-
cut out a bit there.
I did
Yeah,
cut
you
out,
just
sorry.
disappeared for a
But
bit.
Could you imagine? that was perfect timing. Could you imagine if they win the game, they lose the league, and then they force them to raise the concrete pylon like 2 minutes later?
That would be, we've spoken about PK League a lot this season, but that would be up there as well.
My pylon's getting sent through someone's car windscreen.
All right, we're approaching stoppage time in Kyrgyzstan. Still 0-0, of course. They do
It's been
have
very
a trophy
stop-start
club
as
championship.
well. Oh, they do have one.
Apparently, Roy is saying they do. A link on the article shows a trophy. Well, there you go.
Interesting.
Roy's doing, mate. Roy's putting a good input in.
We need to
He's
get him
getting
on
in the call.
our research team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that beer taste, Roy? Can you answer that one for us, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you managed to get any?
How does the Abdish-Ata beer taste?
Roy, what do you know about this team as well, mate?
Is the grass? Can you double confirm the grass? I don't trust Jacob.
Look how patchy it is. Like, it's
Yeah,
gotta
no,
be.
that's
It's gotta be real.
It's real. 1
Yeah.
minute of extra time.
Definitely.
It's
I
longer,
can
I
tell
think.
you, I was looking up the stadium. Hang on.
If you quote the Wikipedia, that's useless. Get out of
Yeah.
Don't worry, mate. I've got a forum.
here. Okay.
Ross is going on the Kazakhstan Stadiums forum, where he's
No,
a
I
frequent
used to
poster.
I used to be in a Facebook group that gave you all of like the gates that used to be open at every single stadium in Europe and where you could sneak into the stadium.
We just,
So I
that's,
had
that's
lunch
not
inside
that's not an
the
official
stadium during
endorsement.
my month.
By the
Yeah.
analytics of our
Yeah.
own channel.
We're-
The Facebook page has since been banned, but
I wonder why that is.
I had a nice margarita pizza inside Napoli Stadium.
Should start a video series called Ross on the Jib.
Well, you've already got a written series, right? For those
Yeah.
who don't know, Ross has been writing up some of his travels on the Inner Sanctum. But that is half-time. Abdish-Ata 0, Central Coast Mariners 0. Jacob, it looked like the Mariners had the better start to this game, but Abdish have definitely settled into their own and probably had the better of the chances overall in the first half.
Yeah, well, it was ironically when Mariners made that switch from the back two to the back three in possession that they sort of started to fall out of the game a little bit, and they struggled to just get the ball up the field in any sort of fluid fashion. If it's coming into the midfield, we're seeing a lot of stop-start, fouls, little niggly things. I think that's probably a deliberate thing from Abdish-Ata to try and just slow the game down and be able to dictate tempo. But the back line so far haven't looked spectacular in terms of progressing the ball. I think they're sort of limited as well by the fact that they are playing with that back three in terms of, Steele not being able to get up on the wing, which means that left side's a little bit more isolated. You've got Mikhail Docker, who is playing very advanced and perhaps isn't dropping as deep as, an advanced fullback would, for instance. So I think it's sort of a case of the Mariners not being able to progress the ball nicely through that middle third. And Abdish-Ata, to be, to give them all due respect, have played pretty well and have come into the game a little bit more. Like I said, they've exploited that space left in the midfield by having those more advanced players in Nisbet and Ballard in there for the Mariners. And they're using that space well. And then, like I said, overloading their right wing, the Mariners left wing, with Steele at left back, or sort of left centre back when it's the back three, and just sort of exploiting him and looking to target his side of the pitch a little bit more. And now, Will, I don't know a huge amount about Steele. Has he played many minutes so far this season?
But usually in the center. So he's not. I did notice him a couple of times, maybe late in game to when we were bringing on other players. So not doing a like for like. He would slot in at left back there.
Yeah.
Never convincing. He obviously is more trusted than Nathan Paul, who I did think, I back him for the future, but he did look weak there at left back against Sydney. He played there and it just wasn't convincing. So he's definitely a fix-it solution, like a short-term kind of trying to patch it up for now, because he doesn't want to play Paul in Champions League, but yeah.
Well, it could be because of, obviously Jacob Farrell's not here. But I mean, you still have the two fullbacks out there in Docker and Rue, and okay, yeah, they're probably both more right-sided fullbacks. But I think Jackson, there's a decision for him to make there, in whether he sort of drops Docker back a little bit, maybe switches Rue out onto the left, and takes Steele off for a more central player. Who can get into the midfield and help them out there where they've been struggling so far this game. It's going to be interesting to see what he does do when he comes out at halftime. We've seen this season that he has that ability to adjust his tactics depending on what's happened in the game. I think this is one of those situations where he's got to look at what's been happening so far, and it's not been perhaps as smooth sailing as he would have liked.
I've got a wild plot twist for you. Roy, actually Monique. Apologies, Monique, using a counter.
Whoa.
There we go. Well, we apologise.
Right from now on. Good to have you.
Well, that's
We were accidentally giving all the credit to her husband there by the sound of things. So just to let you know, Monique, it's you that we value. You've got all the good information so far. So
Monique, the offer still applies as well.
Yeah.
Well, all right. While we have a little intermission in the game, got another little fancy transition for another question for you. Obviously, we've seen Nestri Irankunda, very dramatic season for him. He's really come into his own the last month or two in particular. But the big question is, when he goes to Bayern Munich, should he go out on loan? What should Bayern do with him? And if they do send him away, where does he go? I know Paletti and Christian have both mentioned a return back to the A-League for one more year on our Dub podcast. I don't fit into that category. I really firmly believe that he could appear in the Bayern first team at some point next year, probably only brief minutes off the bench, but I really do think that's a realistic possibility. Will, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think a loan to a lower European league makes sense. You want to see him in a different environment. I think that's probably the most important thing is to grow that footballing side of him and just more experience against the oppositions and different physical league, or depending on where he does go. I think we saw with Sarpreet Singh staying with Bayern but playing for the second team. Maybe the Bundesliga 3, like third division, is maybe too low. I think he can aim higher than that. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that, but so I think the best move would probably be a loan move to, Netherlands or
well, they've actually been relegated to the fourth division now.
Have they?
There we go.
Bayern Munich second team. So I think
maybe they should have held on to Sarpreet Singh.
That's
Exactly.
a little bit too low. Well, Sarpreet Singh's playing in the second division.
He is
in the third division.
Third division.
So he's doing better for himself, I guess. But I agree with Will. I think they're get him out on a loan. Potential. I think the fourth division of Germany, and they're mid-table in the league. They look like they're not really dominating as they should be. So get him out to maybe like in England. Portsmouth have just gone up. Get him there with Yingy.
Do you think England? I don't know.
This is the thing. As somebody who's been watching him all season, obviously as an Adelaide fan, when he is on it, I've never seen a player as good as him. Like, genuinely, everything he does on the ball is so purposeful, and that purpose is, how can we score from this position on the pitch? I think that he's got all the raw talent there to be a very, very, very good player. And I don't think that's an outlandish thing to say. I think probably everyone here would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
But his pace, his strength, and I think the big thing and what's going to be interesting to see is his shooting, because his finishing is unlike anything I have seen. His ability to finish from really tight angles. I don't know if you saw that post from Opta Jason on Twitter the other day with his shot map for the season, and some of the chances that he's finishing have such a low XG. It's actually ridiculous. Like, his ability to be able to convert those chances is insane. And I think in European leagues, that's going to be a massive plus, because we know that he's not going to be able to get himself necessarily really, simple chances to finish the ball. He's going to have to craft things for himself against tougher defenses than he's seen before. And so I think his ability to be able to finish the ball from basically anywhere on the pitch and put it into one of the corners is going to be a massive plus for him. As for what, how Bayern should approach his development, I don't know. I really, really don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what sort of league suits him. Potentially France.
I was thinking that potentially France or like the Serie B type of.
I think France,
I don't
because
really know. Yeah.
a lot of the football. I don't watch a huge amount of it, a little bit here and there. But from what I see, they really like those fast, pacey, strong wingers. Those sort of direct attacking players, especially when you're not talking about the top 4 or 5 teams in Liga, right? When you're talking about sort of the rest of the division and into Ligue 2. So it's a case of, what's going to be the best fit for him? I don't think it's going to be in England or Scotland, especially not, he's not going to be going to a Premier League team, right? Where
I don't think it's fair on him to throw him into the deep end like that quickly, considering he's 18, he's already come out publicly and said the move kind of got into his head a little bit, so he kind of needs stability. So again, if he does have a season or half a season until January in the 4th division of Germany, it's not going to do him any harm. He'll probably tear it up. So
I just don't see the benefit of him coming back to the A League for another season.
Yeah,
like
not at all.
we know he is a level above the rest of the players here, and I don't think that a season. Maybe the only thing is to just let him get a year older, but I'm not sure what benefit that really serves. So
Monique said, first of all, my husband hates football, which is good because then he won't hear all the compliments we've just given him. But secondly, Irankunda shouldn't have had another season with Carl Vietz. A different coach or environment in the A League this year would have been of benefit. And that's an interesting point.
Interesting.
You can take or leave Viet for me, but what I think was really crucial for him this year is that he was with his family in Adelaide. I think that's a big thing, and his friends and his support network around him. So
definitely.
We've talked about young Australian kids going overseas before and really struggling. And my hope for Irankunda is that he's had to deal with a lot of those pressures this year when he's had the extra support, and hopefully he's better prepared to go overseas. And from a loan perspective or Bayern, what I keep coming back to in my head is, can he help Bayern Munich win games of football? And to me, I think yes.
I agree.
Saw him, the reputation that he gained. He got called up for Australia before he even started a game of football professionally, right?
Yeah.
So he made his name early on from coming off the bench and making big impact plays in games. And I think he can do that for Bayern. And I think seeing what he's gone through this year, they want to keep their arm around him as well and know that he's a long-term play. They don't want to send him out in the cold too much. So I do believe they will keep him at Bayern Munich next year.
Well, there are going to be things like the DFB Pokal, the cup there over in Germany, where you're going to get games against lower division sides, and that's exactly the sort of situation where you want a player like Irankunda.
You say that, but didn't they lose to a lower league side this year?
They did.
They did, yes. They made.
Well, because they didn't have Irankunda.
Exactly. There you go.
And they had Harry Kane as well. So
they made everyone look silly in that run. But it is another factor we got to consider is who has the Bayern job next year, they want Nagelsmann. Germany want Nagelsmann for the national team. Yeah, it's hard to say who's going to be there as well. So it is annoying that it's not the same person or the same team that have signed him will necessarily be the one to execute when he is there. I worried a little bit about that, but I'm sure Bayern will be in a rebuilding phase. Obviously, after this year, it's getting done by Leverkusen, but that plays a big role. Like, they might be looking to play these players, and Xavi Alonso is staying at Leverkusen, and maybe Bayern take another season to completely rebuild, start again, get rid of the dead weight, and it will be a good chance for him. So it's exciting, and also, it might be a worry that the coach isn't identified yet.
Especially when coaches nowadays have such a big say over, who they bring into the team, the signings and things like that. If
exactly.
It's not, it's not their signing, so he doesn't get the minutes sort of thing.
Just look at Harry Suter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Big one. Paletti says Irankunda on loan to the MLS. No.
Well, that's what happened technically with McGree, was signed by Charlotte before they'd even established themselves, and then went over to Birmingham. So
I've just
he never even played a game for them, did he?
Nah,
I
because
don't think
they
so,
didn't
no.
exist at that point.
Yeah.
They weren't even in the league.
I've
A
just
lot of-
looked at at Bayern Munich's like affiliated clubs, and like the highest team they've got on this list, they're all in Germany. The highest team they've got on this list is Ingolstadt,
Mm,
which is who Matthew Leckie played for.
yeah.
But they're in the third division. They finished mid-table, so that's
Bloody-
kind of potentially it could be a move. But
Letty says a lot of European sides are looking at MLS for transfer targets with regularity, so they rate the league. It's a long season as well, so plenty of opportunity for development. That is true. It is becoming a kind of
alongside Messi
destination
and Inter
league.
Miami.
Yeah, it is becoming a bit of a destination league, but he has got his move. You know,
Yeah.
And it's a South American players are developing, and that's what they're looking at. And it's all weird with there's timing of the seasons, and it doesn't line up as easy as it. If they do want to recall him halfway through, it's not as simple as a European team would be.
Jordan says Xabi Alonso, only ex-Liverpool star I care about is Mariners legend Louis Garcia. That's a shout out from the past.
In that lovely palm tree kit, just looking good. Take me back.
Am I the only one that saw that kit on April Fool's Day and went, that actually looks really sick? I wish they'd do
That's
that.
better than their actual kit. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Jordan,
Everyone
what do
was
you
saying
think of the
I need
kit?
to borrow it.
'Cause
You
I
can't
like
you can't
it. I
make
love the palm trees.
an April Fool's joke that's better than the real thing. Like that's not how it works. It's supposed to be worse.
That's what like the Bureau of Statistics, the Australian Bureau of Statistics did. That everyone wanted their merch to come out. Like you can't,
Yeah.
can't call this stuff.
Well, Robbie Thompson was keen for it, wasn't he, as well? The Stato
Yeah.
and Andy Howe.
Yeah.
That's the stats lord. We have kicked off in the second half, and a Adish player has gone down quite heavy there. Oh, yeah, that's a big contact to the head with Ryan
a big one.
Edmondson. That'll take a little while.
Ooh.
What are your guys' favourite A-League kits ever? What are we thinking? Just putting my little collector's hat on.
Fluoro green Melbourne victory.
Interesting.
Are we
Nah, it's
counting
not actually good,
only
but it's iconic.
only full season kits, or are we counting one-offs? Or
Not necessarily. No, it's just A-League. If it's been used in the A-League, it's been used in
okay,
the A-League.
I'm doing the Mariners lifeguard kit then.
I'm doing
yeah.
like a
Red.
Melbourne Victory 08, like the Reebok with the Samsung.
Yeah.
That type.
Yeah.
That's a
I
classic,
wasn't
yeah.
really I would have been like 5 or 6, but like the really aesthetically nice kit.
I'm thinking the Adelaide United 10-year anniversary kit was an absolute beauty. Red with blue and yellow, and it has the name of every single Adelaide United player up until that point on it.
I thought you were going to say
it's-
every member. I'm like, oh, you love the kit, that's why you're seeing it.
Yeah. I've actually got Bruce GT's signed
To be fair,
kit
the Adelaide
on the wall.
United,
So
the Adelaide United kits with the Macron and the IGA, those kits are one of my favourites.
we've had some good ones recently. Not gonna lie.
I don't want to give
Jordan
the
says
Wanderers
he loves
any...
the palm trees.
Yeah.
Nah, that's you got to bring that back out, man. But no, the Wanderers had the black and gold, that black and gold away strip. That was just I'm a sucker for a black kit.
You know what I really love is this year's Wellington away kit, the all
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even their home kit, as long as they wear all the same colour, it looks great.
Yeah, way better. You can't have
Think Auckland's kit. No.
Auckland's kit does look nice.
It does.
Very nice, yeah.
It's just they need to fix the badge on it like a little bit. I think it was just an adjustment.
It was in a weird
to that.
spot, wasn't it? Yeah.
I said this in our podcast. They
Like
need
the
like
colour
a
didn't
gold
pop
or
at all.
red sponsor. But
All right. Well, we'll come back to Auckland in a second, but the second half has kicked off. No changes to either side that I make out. Jacob, what are you hoping you see from the Mariners as we kick into the second half?
I think getting away from the back three in possession is going to be the key for them this half, because it doesn't necessarily mean having a back three is, a negative approach to playing it, but that's certainly how the Mariners were using it in the first half, was as an ultra sort of defensive look, and there's a bit of a challenge there in the midfield as we talk about that.
I actually don't know what's happened there. Oh,
Is that Max Ballard that got clipped?
Yeah, just an impact one. Hopefully,
he's got a yellow for it though. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
he came through him.
That was very late, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Should be a couple.
I'm thinking moving away from that back three will be a big thing, because then they can get those extra bodies forwards, more, hopefully more players to then use the space, or at least try and create space, or try and create something. Because so far, even when they're getting the playmakers on the ball, Josh Nisbet's had a very quiet game. Torres, when he's on the ball, hasn't had that. He's not been receiving it in areas where he can just go and beat his man. He's had two or three defenders in front of him. I think they're sort of struggling to play to the advantages that the front line has in this team at the moment. And yeah, I think abandoning the back three, getting that extra player forward, even if it's an inversion into the midfield or whatever, just something for the back line to look towards when trying to play out from the back would be key.
Will, are you confident from what you've seen so far?
Nope. It's okay. Yeah, as I was saying at the start, the Mariners need just a few of those moments where they hit them hard and fast. So it's just looking like one of those games. I haven't been concerned by the chances that we are conceding. Like they are having a few moments, but they've been longer range shots or crosses from wide. They're not getting any chances really central and deep into the box. So the box defending has been good. It's been solid, as we've come to expect. But yeah, not generating as much as normal as they normally do. But
this is
It's a
I don't
dangerous
see.
pass.
Good counter.
They've ended up conceding a throw in there. Yeah.
Yeah, the grass looks rough. I think that's why we need to demand an inquiry into the grass here.
You wouldn't think artificial grass would be this patchy, would it?
We're gonna have to fly you out there, Lockie, just to.
They brought the sprinklers out at halftime.
You can water synthetic. That's fine.
I think because it's an athletics pitch, it's definitely
Been used.
It doesn't
gets
look like
chewed
it's
up a
actually
bit.
being used as an athletics pitch for ages.
Another interesting
I've had a
point
synthetic pitch,
raised by Monique, the altitude as well.
Monique's honestly unreal.
I don't know what we're doing here. What would the altitude? Ross? You were on the Wikipedia. What's the altitude of this pitch compared to Gosford?
Altitude, far out.
I'm assuming
Gosford
higher,
is-
right?
is
So thinner air,
as close to sea level as you can get, right?
True. So that probably means more fatigue later in the game, right? So
Kyrgyzstan, 2,750. So 94, yeah. So it's
That's
I
a
don't know
fair.
what Central Coast is, but
Is that in Bishkek? That's where it is in.
Yeah.
true. I'm sure the country goes up and down a little bit, right?
it's 800 meters elevation.
Right.
Okay, well there you go. I do
Well,
remember.
your answer is
CrossFit is
Monique.
I was reading a long time ago. I was reading one of Diego Maradona's books, and in his preparation for the World Cup that he won, I remember he talked a lot about training a lot in that altitude, and that being a very big deal for him to get acclimatized to the conditions.
Yeah, it's a big thing for all athletes. Love to do altitude training because it's the thing of your blood and your circulation gets accustomed to having a lower oxygen level. And so then when you do eventually go back to a lower altitude, it's almost like a little bit of a performance boost because you suddenly have a lot more oxygen going through your system, and you get less tired, less fatigued and stuff like that. It's interesting in South America, the Bolivian teams, whenever they're playing in the continental competitions there, they've been known to be sort of a little bit of a hurdle for some of the big sides from Argentina and Brazil, because they're playing at an extremely high altitude, like very, very high. And it's a case of these Bolivians have lived there their whole life. It's normal for them. But the Argentinians are coming from, their coastal towns, going up literally a mountain to La Paz, which is the capital there, and struggling to breathe and get through a game running at full pelt. So it can be something that's sort of a hidden little advantage for teams that do play at altitude.
I remember a lot of it was an international break, and it's not long after World Cup as well, I think, or something like that. It was the Argentinian and the Venezuelan players, I believe, in the Premier League came back, and they just looked absolutely done.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a consideration for the next the Mariners game as well. So I'm hoping that they, I don't know, get a goal here and can rotate that team, and they don't have to all play, all have 90 minutes on the key players. So
We just saw Dan Hall go for a little bit of a run and get
He
cut
did.
down. He's obviously not happy with the nil-all scoreline.
Just trying to take matters into his own hands.
We have had a prediction come in, 1-0 to the Mariners.
Is that from Monique?
No, that was someone else.
No. But Monique, what are your thoughts? What's your score prediction? Because I believe whatever you say.
Yeah. I will take this opportunity to say as well, we've got over 100 people in the stream right now. So if you are enjoying yourself, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get alerted when we do these things in the future, which it looks like we'll do because this has gone quite well so far. We also put stuff up from the podcast as well that we do a couple of times a week. So if you've somehow found us without knowing about the podcast, we do the podcast based around the A-League at Australian football as well. But yes, thank you all for being here. What do we have? 35 minutes left in this game.
And this goes to extra time and pens. Right?
No, because it's 2 legs.
2 legs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The AFC Cup does jump around a bit. We've had 1-legged knockout ties and 2-legged. This one's a 2-legger, and it will be the second final. I've actually done an error in that title because it's not the interzonal semi-final. It is the final of the interzonal phase. Apologies for that. I tell you,
I don't blame you because this naming stuff is
I've been
ridiculous for this
complaining
competition.
about it all year. This is technically a final because it's the final of the interzone, and then if they win this, they go play the winner of the West Zone in the AFC Cup final.
it's a semi-final still. I don't think you're incorrect. It's still
Every single game's been a semi-final.
Yeah. Well, it's like a American competition naming conventions where they got like it's the divisional
Yeah, the
rounds
conferences.
playoffs for the, and it's like, what is any of this?
better than the Big Bash and their Eliminator and the whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, they've got some.
Well, even the A-League used to have that funky thing where it was like,
Yeah.
what was it? What the preliminary final or whatever, and it's and it's like you get 2 bites at the cherry because if you lose that, you still go back to like an elimination final and go back through it
Yeah,
again.
it's like the AFL. It's a bit.
Yeah,
They have changed it around a lot, haven't they?
I think they've finally found something that works.
Well, the thing is, as we expand, do we go to potentially an 8 if we do get to 16
Keep it at 6.
teams?
Keep it at 6.
Even 16 teams.
Well, first of all, I don't think we'll get to 16 teams, but
Nah. I think we'll keep the top
Well, we
six.
will eventually.
we'll eventually. But I think
I think
just
enough.
yeah, I think it's crazy to have half the league qualify for the finals. Like,
I think you just scrap finals.
nah, I like.
Honestly, you win the league, you win the league.
No,
Like,
it's not going to happen. I appreciate your perspective, Ross is a very big European
You're a
fan,
snob.
but it won't happen in the AFL.
No, and I do like that little bit of difference because it's like, okay, the league's over. You maybe haven't had as consistent a season as you like, but all you've got to do is win the next 3 games, sort of thing, and there's all to play for, and anything can happen. I think that's a little bit more exciting too.
The thing is, in a world where the A-League still doesn't have relegation as well, you need the race for finals. Otherwise, you have like 8 dead teams by March.
Yeah.
So
what happens
that
when
can't
we've
happen.
got? What happens when we've got like 14 teams, and then we've got like promotion, relegation, and then 6 people in the finals? We're gonna have like 2 teams doing nothing type of thing.
Well, see, that's fine because then you're engaging everyone until almost the last few rounds. I think if you have relegation, you have a top 6 or potentially 8 for finals. You have probably a top 4, which will be like in the AFL, a significant advantage in finals, and then a 2 or a 3 for Asia and other competitions, and then a 1 for the Premiership. I think if you have that kind of system, then you're gonna have competitive matches all the way to the end.
Well, and I mean, I support Sutton United over in England. They play in League Two and probably going to get relegated now after the result last night between Colchester and Grimsby. But that's beside the point. The whole thing there is that there are teams in mid-table that aren't facing relegation and aren't going to get promoted, and they take absolute pride in being able to spoil the party, whether that's to get someone relegated or to kick someone out of a promotion spot. Like, they absolutely live for that, and I think that that's something that we can see occasionally here in teams sort of stepping up when they're against top 6 opposition and going, well, we're having a horrible season, so we don't want you to have a good one either, sort of thing. And so in that regard, I think there's always something to play for, and there's always pride to play for, and all that as well. So the case is that Australia's in a very different spot to the rest of the world when it comes to football and how things are structured here, and that's how it is, and that's how it's going to be. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if they can, I guess, find a way to make it all work really well. And I think, like I said before, I think with what they've done with the finals formats recently and stuff, they've sort of started to find a formula that works for the environment that we've got here in Australia.
Yep. And Monique says Australia loves finals footy in all codes. That is absolutely correct. And I know there is a very broad segment of football fans in Australia that think we should just do our own thing and not care. But I think we do have to be realistic about the sporting market that we're in. And people do love finals footy, no matter what. If you're talking AFL, you're talking rugby league, you're talking soccer. So I think that's a good thing. She also has said that sadly she thinks we're heading for a 0-0 draw, which is unfortunate, but Hard Nuts reckons the Central Coast Mariners will get up. Lovely username there.
Monique, who do you support?
I believe, Monique, if I'm correct, you reached out on Facebook in the Mariners group, so I think you're a Mariners fan.
Interesting. So she's
But
probably
correct me
going
if
to
I'm
be at the second leg, I'd assume. But
Well, Monique
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be
yeah.
our live
Monique can
reporter
be our
at the
live
ground.
correspondent.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to the game, Will.
I'll try and get there.
Oh, you do have training on, don't you? Or coaching,
Yeah,
sorry.
but that's. I mean,
What's the ticketing been like? Is
it
it?
is a Wednesday
was
again,
it-
isn't it?
You'll get a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Midweek football,
Midweek
you're going to get
Wednesday.
a.
I
Yeah,
can't
you're
really
gonna get a seat.
remember a time when
Oh,
Ooh.
I don't even know how popular it was back then, but I can't remember a time Victory had Asian Champions League and there was tickets.
yeah.
Oh, well, notable tickets, but
I'll
The
try
reply
out.
to our query was yellow heart, blue heart, palm tree. So I think that's really conclusive.
yeah,
Definitive
valid.
answer. What we just saw here as well, by the way, in the actual match, getting back to the football that's being played, was a couple of chances for Abdish-Ata, a sort of wild volley from outside the box that could have taken any number of deflections, but then the Mariners just launched straight into a counter-attack. And I think was it Angel Torres was running after it. Didn't quite get there, but I think the game's sort of opening up a little bit more, and we might see those balls in behind a little bit earlier from the Mariners, trying to get players just onto the ball in space behind the line.
And I think on that note, I would not be surprised if we see the likes of Christian Theoharis and Barcelos coming onto the field too, because they're two players that are going to benefit greatly from that that change.
Absolutely. And Theo Harris has been one of those ones where I was talking before about, and Will was as well, about the footballing decisions of the Mariners. And they've been able to pick up a player who was sort of down and out of form, perhaps wasn't, feeling the best about his football, and have been able to turn him around into a quality impact player. And as you mentioned, that here are some subs for him.
All right, what's happening? So we've got one.
Looks like
Abdish player.
DePizio was coming on.
Oh, did they give a cross to the bench? Did they? I missed that.
They did, yeah.
Oh, Jing Reese as well.
Jing Reese. So yeah, like I said, maybe perhaps just going to look to play direct now, abandoning playing through the middle where they've struggled all game, and just go sort of long ball, get your pacey players on it behind the line and see what they can do.
You could see when they zoomed in on that sideline there, it just looks lumpy, like a lumpy ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grass looks fun, whatever, but it's no, we're not able to play those balls into the sixes and just turn on it like we usually do. So don't mind hitting the channels here.
And that was Edmondson off for
Yeah, and
Jing
then
Reese.
tap for DePizio.
So is it Nisbet dropping deeper and those two going up top together?
I think so. Yeah.
Interestingly, you can actually do a stadium tour of this stadium.
Book it in.
It is, according to my computer, it's £5.
Oh,
A leagues of our own on location.
Oh, God.
I'm happy to. I'm happy to give it a go.
can we turn donations on? Yeah, Lockie, how many subs have been in for?
Yeah.
on this?
Get your super chats in.
I think a few more than what we have currently.
It looks more like a 4-3-3, Will, from what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
At least in possession. Out of possession, it drops back into that 4-4-2 they've been using. But
DePizio has been used up front or
Oh.
wide.
it's a good turn there. Whew.
Guys, nice little
Jeez.
players, man. Oh my god.
Really piling on the
Oh.
pressure now from Abdish.
I think this is what we've seen when we were, talking about the Asian Cup when that was on. I think the technical quality of some of these Central Asian players is really underrated because they don't play in super high leagues, so you don't get to hear about them or see them. But on the ball, they have some really good touch and just the ability to dodge challenges and create space for themselves. They don't have to necessarily pass through the press when they can just turn their way out of it.
We have a Abdish fan in the chat, Jose. We've gone international, breaking into the realms of Asia. That's good, a little bit of competition. Of course, a big weekend for the Mariners as well, Monique has pointed out. Really excited about the weekend's double header, trying to promote a record crowd for the women's game. Of course, they have the big match. Who are they playing in the men's competition? Newcastle's the week after. Does anyone off the top of it? Anyway, they got the men's game and then they got the women's first leg of the semi-final as well against Sydney FC, which is a huge game for the girls. So it's going to be a big day out with the palm trees and the sauce bowls.
Yeah, Adelaide, yeah.
That's scary though. Even if the team are conceding goals, you got Nesta, who's people have been asking for consistency from him. You look at his last month. What is it, like 5 goals, 3 assists in his last
He has
few
been
games?
insane. He's been so good. It's like he's heard all the criticism about him and gone, oh, what's that? You want consistency? Here you go. Here's 2 goal contributions a game basically now that he's at. It's insane.
The Mariners definitely benefit from waiting and knowing the result of that Jets and Phoenix game. So that will help a lot as well. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully they know that.
Well, I think
It's
my
nice
prediction
turnout,
was
man.
that the Phoenix would drop points at the Jets. So
That was everyone's prediction, so that does.
At one stage, it was everyone's prediction.
was it really? I haven't gone back and listened. So
I had it in my head, and then I saw you write it down. I saw Christian say that he wanted to. Yeah,
well, I got in first. Does that count for anything?
yeah, it does. It does. I was going to say it just to try and manifest it. To be honest, it was.
And Will, you're wearing a very nice pink shirt. I believe that's relevant this weekend as well.
Yes, we're going to have that round, I believe. Pink round, yes. I always love trying to get a match won after this round. It's depends on the player, but you can usually snag a decent bargain on the charity side after. So if you want to support a good cause as well, get on there and have a look at the kits. They always go up afterwards.
Okay, get around it.
We've just seen Abdish have another really strong chance on goal.
They've been pretty poor with their finishing so far. A lot of the chances
7
just going
shots to
straight
3.
at Vukovic. So that's something that they might come to rue if they
Didn't realise they were playing.
can't get a goal here. Yeah. But on the point of charity auctions and stuff there that you're talking about, Will, a funny one this season was Hiroshi Ibasuki's. I think it was the Remembrance Day one going up for auction, and I think the bid was something like 14,000, which I believe was a typo, but pretty funny nonetheless.
So they all go to matchwornshirts.com now.
Oh yeah,
Big ones.
That's a foul. That's a foul. That was a nice little bit of play there as well. Yellow
The
card.
defender covers there.
But it was off the ball. It wasn't even like. Yeah.
That's dangerous. That's reckless. That actually is.
I'm
That's
alright with the
a
yellow there.
legitimate play at the ball.
Yeah.
Oh,
If he gets him with that front foot,
to be honest, if he gets him with the front, if he gets
yeah.
his front foot, it's worse than it is.
I'm happy with yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their right back
it
was
wasn't- it
back
wasn't
to cover
offside.
anyway.
Yeah.
Was it Adelaide who had the match worn controversy of selling a match worn shirt, but then also posting a tweet about how the shirt was given away?
Yeah.
They did post below that they recovered the shirt.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing that I've noticed is that throughout the season, they've been wearing what looks to be the Remembrance Day shirts, just with the Remembrance Day badge removed, because you can still see the outline of it in the center of their
Oh,
chest.
really?
So I'm not sure what match worn kits they gave away there.
So they had spare. And
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, the APL now have a deal with a company called matchwornshirts.com. They operate all around the world, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's every game, but for select games, definitely the clubs are obligated to hand in all of the shirts worn for particular games, and then they're auctioned off on their website. So,
Oh, it's nice little tackle.
poor, feel bad for the kids bringing the "Can I please have your shirt" signs, hanging them over the sideline.
That's one of those things that's a very divisive thing in modern football, isn't it? Those cardboard signs with
Yeah.
number, whatever, and then the player's name, give me your shirt, or can I have your shirt, or people get fired up about those.
Well, I think, Paletti, if you're still in the chat, I know if they were here, they would talk about the women's game, and, those players often have their one shirt. It's just like an amateur, like you and I playing at club level. We have our shirt. We can't give it away because then we have to go buy a new one. So
Yeah.
it makes it tricky when the fans don't understand that completely and are still expecting these things for players, and they just can't do it. So it's an okay solution.
But I saw a thing in European football. They've got they get allocated 3 kits a year or something, and then every kit after that they have to pay out of pocket for their own kit if they give it away.
Yeah, it might not be 1, it might be 2 or 3.
Yeah. Oh, something like that. Yeah, but they do that, and then they have to obviously pay out of pocket for the rest of them, which is probably Messi's kits sold for 4 million each. So very tricky to find a Messi match one top. But
Absolutely.
Well, we've got a comment here on YouTube from Sanjeev saying, who do you guys think will win?
Well, the
And,
Mariners almost had a golden chance.
They did.
Just
I think
Nisbet was
nobody at
almost
this
in
point,
behind.
to be honest.
It looks
looking
like it's
more
heading
and
for a
more
draw,
like
doesn't
zero.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking more and more like nobody's winning.
As soon as we were going to live stream this game, it was always going to happen.
Is it isn't 0-0 a win for this team, like this Kyrgyzstani? So,
Well, that's
dunno,
the thing. I
'cause-
don't think so.
Nah.
Because you got to come to Australia, so.
Yeah.
yeah, true. You probably want one away, don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes just looped around him then. Come on.
The away goal rule doesn't exist, does it either?
No.
I don't know. What's everyone's thoughts on that? Because everyone's saying this Champions League was like they didn't play with that in regard. Obviously, it was a lot more open. But yeah, I thought it made the games more open and definitely more exciting first legs. But a draw in the first leg kind of meant that it was a pointless fixture in a way. So, what do you guys think about Norway?
My opinion on that is that people love to just look at one game and then draw their opinions of it. Like,
Yeah.
on a broader point for the round of 16, and we won't talk about European football for too long, but people looked at the round of 16 and said, oh, they're all, terrible games, which in a lot of places they were. But that just happens when you have random draws in football. When you look at the quarterfinals now, they've all been brilliant. So sometimes you just get teams in different places, and a lot of the first legs in this round, Jacob, you and I watched Arsenal Bayern Munich very intently. That was an amazing game.
Yeah.
So if you want to say that, if you want to bring away goal rules into that, well, then you say it's a good thing. So I don't know. I don't really know if there's a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, I have a fond memory of away goals when I was in I think I was in year 9 or 10 maths, and Olympiacos was playing against Arsenal.
Sorry, Ross, I'm going to interrupt you. Mikael Docker has made a run down the right.
See it.
I believe that's Torres who's just overran the ball.
Oh,
That was a good chance.
Very good chance. Again, I think that's one that's held up in the pitch perhaps a little bit because he looked absolutely on for it and it's bounced and just, yeah.
It dies instantly.
There's actual the weeds are coming
Goal
through
kick.
Yeah, Ross, you were going Olympiacos
Anyway,
Arsenal.
yeah, Olympiacos were playing Arsenal, and El Arabi's scored a 94th minute winner, or draw, equaliser, to win them, to put them through to the quarterfinals, and I was screaming in the back of maths class. He's not very happy with me, but
I do have memories when I was, 6 or 7 years old, and yeah, my older brother would be watching Arsenal in the Champions League, whatever, and there'd be the little aggregate score underneath, and I always used to think that was the predicted score, and so I was wondering why it kept going up every time they scored. I was like, what? You can't keep changing the prediction. I didn't realize that it was an aggregate.
it's that funny meme as well when you say how do I explain to my girlfriend that we lost, but we actually drew, but we actually won. Like, one of those ones. But
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like Arsenal winning the league at White Hart Lane off a draw, right? So,
Yeah.
it's a draw, but going up and down. Chris says, I have a conspiracy theory that the away goals rule was removed to force more games into extra time and penalties to improve the TV product. You wouldn't put that past UEFA, would you?
Yeah.
Money's money for the UEFA, isn't it? And FIFA, I guess.
A
But
bit of a tinfoil hat. Come on.
Another one from Monique Torres is really struggling with the pitch and can't find a smooth pass. It does look that, as I said, I made the comparison to Wellington. Oh, scissor kick attempt goes miles over the bar. But I made the comparison
Ambitious.
to Wellington and victory at the weekend. Just all the rain made the pitch play completely differently to particularly what Wellington were used to. And they just couldn't get the ball moving in the right areas in transition. So it looks like something similar is happening here.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
assume
a
pitch
struggle.
like this doesn't have drainage, to be honest. So
Yeah,
You
it's
can
a
probably
struggle
tell
when
most
you're on a bad pitch because, like I was saying earlier, when you're training and it's basically a carpet and you come into these pitches where it's bobbling and it's holding up and it's not bouncing properly and it can be an absolute nightmare. And that's where I think maybe the Mariners have missed a beat a little bit in not playing direct a bit earlier.
Jing Reese is making a move.
like,
Oh,
it's not
breaking
over.
through.
It's not over until it's the final whistle. So he's literally just fallen over the pitch.
Yeah, still goes though.
Oh,
Still nothing clear cut for
Shot.
Mariners.
Nah, he's having a shot. Oh.
play it. Oh. We're getting into fan territory. We're getting to fan territory there.
I feel like you're allowed to go a little more fan heavy on the live streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at this time, turning into the goal bridge that wanted a couple of minutes ago.
So if they concede, Will, the script is stand up, chair lift,
Yeah.
throw on the bed, and
There we
walk
go.
out, right?
Yeah.
Got something to smash. I got a mirror here. I'll pull the mirror out.
You gotta come back and you gotta call one of their players a cheat. And you gotta
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then we'll clip it and we'll put it all over social media.
Yeah, I've been practicing desk slams, so I'll
Mariners fan goes crazy over like.
What's that copy paste from copy pasta from A League memes, the inquiry into the pitch. I need to get that one out.
Oh jeez.
All right. Well, before we get into the final closing stages of this match, let me give you one more talking point. And we're going to go back to Auckland like I promised. And the question is Jamie McLaren going to New Zealand to play for Auckland FC? Ooh. Close tussle in the box. I believe Storm Rouge just cleared it away. Very close over there.
Very close.
Oh,
Let's have a look at this replay. Corner comes in from Abdish off the right-hand
Okay.
side. Hit Storm
Fans-
Rouge. Oh, that's a good clearance.
Very lucky. Storm is lucky, but also unlucky there.
He did well to get the block on, but equally
Yeah.
he
Well, second
had to
effort.
deal with it.
Well, I think it's a good thing in that he almost sort of cushioned it by falling backwards because otherwise that would have just fallen to the opposition
Yeah.
player there for a tap in. So
I think Vukovic may have got there potentially.
it would have been a
That's
close
a very
one.
poor corner. Cleared away swiftly.
A bit easier for them to deal with there.
Anyway, on the Auckland topic.
Yes. So Jamie McLaren, he came out post-match. Perfect timing, He came out after the match on the weekend and talked about being a mentor to Maxi Caputo, who's started 5 games in the last little stretch for City. McLaren obviously came back in and scored as well, but he talked post-game about being a mentor, and specifically the line that everyone's going to is he will probably be the one knocking in the goals for City next year. Now, there have been rumours of McLaren to Auckland going back a couple of months, and we talked about this on the podcast. Him going to Auckland and the club knowing about it would go some way to explaining why he hasn't been picked over the last 2 months. But those comments seem to confirm it for me that he's at least definitely leaving City, and Auckland sure seems like a good destination.
It can be sort of the centerpiece signing for him there. A bit like Besart Berisha was for Western United early days. It's sort of that player that's going to give you a spark to start with, get people coming to watch the games, and that's half your issue sorted there. But I don't think Auckland will have a problem with crowds anyway. At least from what we've seen when the Phoenix play there, they tend to get around them. But yeah, no, it definitely looks like you said, Lockie, that McLaren's going to be heading over there. How early that was decided, I think it would be interesting to find out if we do eventually find out. I think you mentioned that on the podcast a little while back, Lockie, about it could be very fun to see, both the signings that are made and also, if possible, when those signings were sort of confirmed, because there's a few players that maybe you look at and you go, they haven't had the minutes you'd expect them to. Is that because they're not going to be around next season? But I do think it's a double issue for McLaren in that if he is going, he's also just not had the form to really warrant starting much this season. So it's sort of, that's covered it, I think, a little bit for him too, is that it's not just speculation about his future. It's also, well, he's just not been very good this season anyway.
But also Steve Corica has been around the trap long enough to know his quality and McLaren's
he's a league proven goal scorer. So you can't,
absolutely.
like,
He's the top goal
he's got it
scorer.
in his back pocket if he needs to. Like, it's not like he doesn't know how to score goals anymore. Like,
100%. Top goal scorer of all time. 3 golden boots, maybe 4 even. I could be mistaken there. But Chris says if Auckland FC were to sign McLaren, that means their coaching staff are going all in on a fairly specific style of play, which is risky in their debut season. What do you make of that, Will?
You've got Corica. It's already only knows how to play one way. That's why McLaren, it would work there, because they are both one-dimensional, and I think it would work between the Corica style and McLaren's football. But yeah, you definitely are like putting yourself into a certain type of box.
Brief pause. Mikel Docker's standing over this free kick right now. This is a good chance for the Mariners. We know Brian Caltech's form on set pieces, as he's getting a talking to from the ref here as well. Keep your hands to yourself.
Caltech's never far from the action, is he?
No, and we saw Docker score a direct free kick a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
it's not
And
that
I
far
think
out.
this one will be direct
Yeah,
as well,
lines
won't it?
up.
Because he was tripped
Lines
up.
It
So.
looks like he's lining
Caltech's
up
free in the
for
far post. It's in!
Oh, it's in!
Oh,
The Mariners have scored. They've got a
behind.
1-0 lead away from home
Oh,
to
wow.
Abdish-Ata.
Look at him, all
The
I was
player we
behind.
were talking about.
We just lined him up. He was completely unmarked at the far post. And the
There you
header was
go.
quality to get the lead for the
and Ball's got a
Mariners.
smile on his face after that one.
Great
Very
ball
well
from
placed.
Docker. Yeah, absolutely. And completely on his own into the left corner. And the
Unmarked,
Mariners
actually.
1-0 up. Monique's happy.
Good header. Monique, that's the main.
Monique's happy, so we're all happy. There we go. That's
It's a shame I was
It's a very-
about 3 or
it's a
4
very good
seconds
header.
behind, so I couldn't react.
You saw my
Yeah.
video.
Saw it, but no, yeah, that's how did he get through?
That's
there?
huge. That's so big. Getting a 1-0 win away from home in Asia, coming back for a home second leg, that's massive.
yeah. In a game where you've really struggled to create chances as well, you're going to take that. I said in the first half after that Edmondson chance, it's going to be one of those games where you're not going to get a lot of them, so you're going to want to take the ones that you do get, and there's a perfect example of it.
Look,
You
that
get a
could open the
chance to.
floodgates as well.
And
You
it
get
was
the
a-
chance to completely avoid having to play over that pitch. You just dink the ball into the
Exactly,
box.
yep.
Yeah. Get
Played on
get
the
your
ground,
big
played in
tool
the air.
centre back on it, and the rest is history.
This could open the floodgates. This Abdish-Ata could be very proactive now and trying to get a goal back, and then Mariners find an opening and maybe capitalise off another one. But
And it's such an important win here if they do manage to hold on for Mark Jackson, because having the knowledge that they get to come back to home ahead will affect his decision making in terms of his lineups for the next couple of weeks. So he should, like, obviously it'll be the second last game of a major cup competition, so you never know when to play it safe or not. But in the whole, kind of talking area of going for the treble, well, you can probably afford to play a little bit of a weaker squad in the return leg here. You're not going to go too far because, as I say, it's still a very important match. But you have those 2 league games that they'll probably have to win both to secure the title. 4 points, depending on how willing to go, might not be enough. If they're chasing the treble, maybe rotating a little bit for the return leg is a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if Abdish play their football here and they couldn't get the result, playing something obviously they're a bit more used to, type of football you play on this pitch, I think Mariners will be more comfortable in that second leg. And I think they do have depth this season. We've seen heaps of people heaps of different players come in and rotate nicely into that team. So yeah, I think there's enough depth to still have a very competitive team. They
Yeah.
can play the football that we want. That's
Yeah.
probably the most important thing at home. And yeah, I think that's got to be the aim. It's got to be 2 strong performances in the league. Wrap that up. Put a rotate its side out for this second leg.
Yeah, and we're talking depth. We've just seen Christian Theoharis come on for Mikael Docker, which I don't think is particularly surprising. You're going to want to keep Docker fresh because he's been such a
Yeah.
pivotal part of that side. And when you've got
That's
a
a fair
player
point.
like you've got a player like Theoharis on the bench who can come in and do a job. And I mean, we were talking about him earlier potentially being an impact player this game. I don't think he's going to have to be now that they've got the lead and can try and see this game out a little bit more just defensively, but. Yeah, like you're saying, Will, got plenty of depth there where it's a case of you're not necessarily feeling like when you bring in subs on, it's a downgrade in any given position,
Absolutely. Let's have a little wholesome moment, shall we? A couple of comments come through. I will wake up, Sanjeev says, I will wake up early in the morning if Central Coast Mariners win, as Danny Vukovic pulls out, potentially, a leg-winning save.
That's a cracking stop. Yeah. And that's one of the few
Full
shots that
extension,
Abdish-Ata have really, challenged him with, that they've not just hit straight down his throat.
His first tough save of the game, easily.
Yeah.
What a touch.
Badmi Fuaha has also said, love to see this from India. Thank you, guys. You made my day. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate that. And Monique also says, thanks so much for hosting a live watch-along. We need fan-led media to do more of this kind of stuff to take the game to the next level. Absolutely. We're more than happy to do it. And I'm sure we'll be back after this. It's gone quite well. I know there have been a couple little video issues potentially, but apart from that, it all seems to have gone quite well. So thank you all for being here. It's about 130 people in the stream at the moment. So
I thought you were saying 1:30 is in the time.
In
I
the
was
morning, I'm like,
Yeah, I was like,
not. Yeah.
hasn't gone that
I was
long.
like, has like daylight savings come back or something? Like,
Yes, but no, plenty of you here. That's we were not expecting anything close to that number on the first go around. So thank you very much. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel or follow us on X if you're watching on there as well, and you'll be notified when we do more of these. But we've got 5 minutes left in this game. The Mariners still have their 1-0 lead. Be very eager to hold on to it.
bit of a wasted goal kick there from Vukovic, but
Adrenaline is pumping.
yeah.
That's the excuse.
It's just it's a rugby kick, get it out far up the up the line as you can.
40-20.
Yeah.
Mark Jackson's getting
This-
quite animated.
They're still finding that space though, Abdish-Ata, in the half spaces. They have done all game long, and I've not really seen much from the Mariners trying to counter that. And whether that's a case of it being, like I mentioned, the fullbacks being perhaps caught out a bit defensively, whether it's that double pivot in the midfield, not identifying it and staying too narrow, I'm not sure, but they're finding a lot of time and space on the ball in those areas, and they keep getting those little dink balls into those spots. Fortunately, the Mariners backline have held pretty strong, but it's certainly a worry because it's something that if Abdish-Ata had maybe taken some of those shots a little bit better, we'd be talking about a different scoreline here. But it's a big challenge there. Interesting as well to see the likes of Angel Torres still out there as well. You'd have thought maybe with them looking to see the game out, you might make like you did with Mikael Docker that change for Mark Jackson to sort of save the legs of some of your more important players. But then, simultaneously, you don't want to necessarily take off an attacking option with only a 1-game lead because anything can happen. There's still 3 minutes left plus whatever in stoppage time as well. So
Yeah. Will, you're potentially one step closer. How are you feeling?
Feeling good now. It was ropey at the start. It's always, that's it. Football, we always start 0-0 and work always has to be done. So it was a bit. I was second guessing it all a bit then, and the football wasn't. Come on, wasn't
Nice block.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, wasn't too convincing at the start, but yeah, no, feeling confident now. Mariners have grown into this game for sure, and should have wrapped up. Yeah, I just don't think they're used to that much possession as we just saw in the stats. So it's not
Are you,
necessarily how they
are
want
you
to play
concerned
them.
about the weekend? You got obviously a lot of tired legs, but you've got the big travel, potentially over 24 hours each way midweek. That's a lot.
It's a lot. I think Adelaide, yeah, sure, they always be a threat with Nesta on the field. But their defensive lapses at the moment is just ripe for the Mariners to exploit. It's
Yep.
they love coming up against. Oh, please play Javi Lopez as centre back. Oh, please.
I don't think it matters who
Yeah.
we decide to put out there, Warland or Hubby. It's gonna be ropey either way.
Yeah, so I think it's just I think that tactical battle will suit the Mariners, and
Yeah.
no matter how tired the legs are, and it will just be too much space that we'll be able to exploit. But yeah, it's like ideally in the next couple of games you just want an early lead and then take them off. That's all. So I think you have to still start strong. I think it's panic stations mentally if you're starting with maybe your weaker side and then it's the 70th minute, it's 0-0 or we're down and it's I don't know. Then you bring the players on, the better players on, and then it's a you waste their legs without the benefit of the result. So I think you got to start with the stronger players still.
Yeah.
Book them off as early, like half-time subs, which has shown he's done before. So that's probably how I'd do it.
Chris says in the chat, I think a drunk Central Coast Mariners side can defeat most A-League teams. Maybe they need to pick up a few Abdish-Atas and bring them back home and have a few drinks before the Adelaide game just to settle the nerves.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. But the comment above that's actually quite an interesting one. The travel back will be fun with the weather in Dubai at the moment. That's another consideration. I don't know if you guys have seen the flash flooding that's gone on over there.
Right.
Yeah. So it's yeah, you don't expect it from a place like Dubai. You're not talking about flooding a lot there, but it's been just monumental amounts of rain there and just flash flooding everywhere. So yeah, that's a good comment. That could make things a little bit more difficult for the Mariners if it's not all sort of tidied up by the point that they're trying to get back.
Monique says, plot twist, Mariners are coming back through Dubai, but the weather has cancelled their flights. Oh no.
Yeah, there we go.
Don't jinx that.
They can stay there for an extra day, make most of the technology that they have there, get in the...
They have good training facilities in Dubai.
Yeah, well, Arsenal
Yeah,
came back a completely different
someone's-
team after their trip to Dubai, so...
Everyone says that Dubai trip. Come on, that's... get them there in the recovery chambers, get them in the... on that... all the tech there. Surely they have enough to host a training session for us there.
Yeah,
Not
apparently
necessarily a
heavy
bad
rain.
thing. It's a mini break.
Yeah.
Go shopping.
We have entered into 5 minutes of stoppage time now. Of course, Mariners still holding that 1-goal advantage. Be key to hold on to that, knowing they have the advantage
nice
coming
ball
back to Gosford. That's going to be a foul, though. Coughed up.
Oh,
Christian Theo Harris giving away a foul. Pretty
It's
deep
in a dangerous
and wide.
spot too.
that is very dangerous.
Right
And they
for,
want this is all they need, this goal.
right for Brian Kalatak at the far post. Luckily, he's playing for the Mariners. That's a silly challenge to give away at this point of the game.
It's 3 minutes to go and you're doing that.
Yeah, it's been baited into that completely.
He has
Really
as well.
did not
The
need to
plays
do
actually
it.
turns and he's...
Yeah.
Security guards doing the laps.
All right, here they go, lining up on the left. Ball swings in. Too close to Vukovic, who gets a touch away, and it's cleared well. It didn't quite hit that corridor of uncertainty there. It was a little bit close to the keeper.
I don't think they had the runners, high up enough either, Abdish-Ata, to, even just stick a boot onto it and see what happens with the deflection. It was sort of held back a bit in their run. So, again, Mariners holding on here, taking a 1-0 lead into the
Oh
second,
my
would be huge.
God, they've
Oh, no.
equalised.
Oh,
Oh no.
Just
In
as we're
the
talking about it.
93rd minute, Abdish-Ata
Monique,
have
what are you
levelled the
saying?
score. I
Monique.
apologise. I had to move to a manual score count, and I forgot to update it last time, but I'll do it now. It is 1-1.
That's
Oh well.
and
On the
that's
volley.
what I was saying. You're gonna get your one good chance, and that's a half chance, if anything.
Yeah.
I mean, completely unmarked edge of the box. Decent volley, to be fair, into the bottom corner. Vukovic, not much you can do about it, but you can't have a player there unmarked in that sort of a situation.
That is
Monique's
a big goal.
crying in the chat.
Huge.
Monique's
Oh, no,
crying
Barmy.
in the chat.
Congratulations, Central Coast Mariners. You made my day. I'm going to sleep well tonight. Thank you, and good night from India. Good night. Oh, you've jinxed it, though. It's going to be a draw. Monique's
Yeah.
crying. No, we've upset Monique. And now this changes the dynamic completely because the Mariners are going to have to enter into this game with work to do.
Yeah. That's wow, worst case scenario for them really there, because it's late enough now that they're only going to get maybe one or two good attacks to try and get that goal advantage back.
Torres is still on the field.
Torres is still on the field. You got Theo Harris, fresh legs. It's it's not out of the question, but it's definitely made things a lot more difficult for Mark Jackson's men.
There's some funky broadcast angles in this. I think they're pressing buttons there. I can't believe it's the goal.
Yeah, this throwing ones.
Well, that was the case with the goal. Was it sort of had the close up of the player doing the volley, and then we didn't really see the result until it pans across and Vukovic is on the floor and the ball's in the back of the net. So
Yes, it's a late goal. It's a late equaliser for Abdish-Ata. We are now in the final seconds of the allotted 5 minutes. You'd imagine there would be a little more time added on for that goal.
yeah,
But the Mariners are running out of time. Here come Abdish. Bodies go down in the penalty box.
I
There are
didn't
penalties
see
for a
anything in
handball.
there.
Oh,
No.
Probably
I think-
lucky that
Give me a corner.
the Kazakhstani player doesn't go to ground. Otherwise, there would have been even stronger appeals on Brian Kaltak. He goes to ground. It does hit the hand, but
That's
I
a
don't
harsh.
think we're giving
You
that a handball.
can't give that.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, that's-
supporting his fall. Yeah.
yeah.
That's one of those things. IFAB has come in and said, it's not unnatural for a player to want to brace their fall by putting their arm out to stop themselves. If the ball hits them there, then there's nothing they can do about it.
The corner is well dealt with by Kaltak, but it's brought back in and it requires Jing Reese to clear on the second phase. A wild shot from range will result in a goal kick, and you'd have to think we're very close to the final whistle now.
Yeah.
They blow it on this keeper kick. I think Vukovic knows it as well.
He's not happy, is he, Daniel Vukovic?
He's not happy at all.
I think he could have done better looking at the other replays. You couldn't tell in the main shot, but it does. It dips as it hits him, like as it comes past him, which is always a tough save. But he'll be frustrated with that one, especially after the top bin save.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
It is
it.
full time in Kyrgyzstan. 1 goal apiece. And they will travel back to Gosford for the deciding leg next week, boys. That is it.
Yeah.
Do you want to get
Well.
the clip?
Will's not a happy man. We are going to break down the game in a little bit more detail on our podcast release Friday morning, Australian time. I have to clarify that now. But yes, we'll do that. So keep your eyes on up for that. We're going to talk about the A-League game earlier in the week as well and some other news. So lots going on. Final reactions from this one, guys.
I mean, that's you've got to hold on in those situations in a game like that. That's a tough one for the Mariners to take, especially in a game, like I've said this whole time, where neither team has really been able to create much of anything. You get that goal, you think we're looking good here, and you just concede late in the game without a chance to come back and restore that 1 goal buffer. That's going to be very disappointing for them. I don't think that there was necessarily a whole lot that the Mariners did, badly that game. It's a case of one unmarked player able to get the shot off. I think both teams pretty well matched in terms of the way that they set up, and it'll be an interesting return leg, that's for sure, especially with a lot to do now for the Mariners.
Will,
Well,
your chair's still sitting up properly?
Yeah, I think I'm still taking that. Like it could have gone worse. We were all looking at a 0-0. It was looking like it was going to head that way. So obviously it hurts to go ahead and come back to concede. But I think you'd still take a draw and be confident in your ability at home. And yeah, I think we just have the quality there to win the rest of this tie. So it's not. I didn't see much from Abdish that would scare me, especially at Gosford. So not too stressed yet. We'll see if we stream the next one or if I'm there. It'll be a different story.
Ross, you reckon they'll get it done?
They should. You'd think they would. I think the pitch played a big part in the result today. So we'll see how Central Coast familiarity with Gosford. So I'm curious to see how I think that the pitch definitely, it's a devastating way to draw a football match, but look, it's football, isn't it? So
They do, and they will get a second chance at home, of course. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in today. We've held a very good number the whole time, so we're very grateful. Again, make sure you do one last call to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Monique, thank you. Fawa, Sanjeev, everyone, Chris, who's jumped in and said hello. Say hi to your husband, Roy, Monique, because we were apparently talking for the first half hour as well. So, yes, thank you all for listening, but we're going to sign off now.